Costa Rica is one of the most biologically diverse countries in the world. This small stretch of land connecting North and South America makes up less than 1% of the world's landmass, yet it contains 5% of the Earth's biodiversity. Its climate and geography support a number of ecosystems, such as tropical rainforests that receive anywhere from 8 to 14 feet of rain each year. The moss-covered cloud forests that exist only at high altitudes. Dry forest wetlands that experience both dry and wet seasons. And marine areas that line the eastern and western coast of the country. In addition to the country's immense biodiversity, it is a world leader in conservation, with over 25% of its total landmass protected by national parks. These national parks are home to some of the most advanced biological stations the world has to offer. One of the most notable stations is La Selva Biological Station. Director Carlos de la Rosa speaks about La Selva's impact on biological studies, its history, and its mission.
The La Selva Biological Station is it's about 1,600 hectares preserved. So it's a piece of forest that has been preserved for almost 60 years. And it's been part of the Organization for Tropical Studies for 45 years this year. OTS is 50 years old since its formation. And the function is to promote and facilitate scientific research by researchers, by students in courses, and also encourage and promote the sustainable management of natural resources. We host an enormous number of people here every year. About 10,000 people come to La Selva, and that includes about 300 researchers with over 150 different projects. And they study here anything from bacteria to the whole ecosystem, everything in between, birds and insects and plants of all kinds. We host over 100 different university-level courses as well here at the station. And we also bring in naturalists, photographers, and the public in general, visitors, ecotourists as we call them, to come to the station and also learn a little bit of what a place like this is. This is a very beautiful example of a well-preserved tropical rainforest.
One small example of the countless studies taking place within La Selva can be seen firsthand in this student's study on leafcutter ants.
We're studying the leafcutter ants, and we've been following their colonies and either snipping a little bit off their leaf or adding tinfoil to see if it makes them faster or slower when they move the leaves back to their colony. Leafcutter ants are considered the worker ant from the colony, and within most ant colonies there's kind of like a caste system. There's the queen ant, soldier ants, and then worker ants, and also within that are scouts. The scouts go out from the colony to locate a preferential tree or wherever they want to get their leaves from. After a while, the leafcutter ants start coming, and they follow a pheromone trail in the ground to locate the plant and bring the leaves back. So if you ever go out there and look at them, there's probably at least like hundreds running along this little passage to kind of mat down the dirt a bit and have a whole train going. And then they bring the leaves back to the colony, and some other ants decompose the leaves and turn into fungi for the rest of the colony to feed off of. Within the ant colony, they usually have separate chambers. So they go in, and then it's kind of a deeper structure, and there can be as many as 8,000 chambers in one colony and as many as 5 million ants. So far, we're seeing some correlation between the size of the leaf that the ant can carry based on its body mass, and we're hoping to see, we're working on this right now, that there will be a relationship between if we cut off part of the leaf and how fast it can carry the leaf after that.
La Selva and many other biological stations give both students and professionals much needed access to diverse ecosystems. But the continued existence of these stations is heavily dependent on the general public.
La Selva has been perhaps one of the premier locations for tropical science and tropical forest ecology. One thing is we want to continue to be the premier station. When the La Selva started, this was one of the first protected areas in Costa Rica. It was one of the first biological stations in the tropics. In the intervening years, we have had a lot of other field stations come up. There's over 100 field stations in Costa Rica alone. So we're not the only ones in the field anymore. We have a lot of competition, which is good. I love it that there's lots of field stations because that means more opportunities for people to do research. But it means for us that we have to continue to be the innovators and the leaders of these efforts. So for me as a new director, I would like to see the La Selva grow into the place where you try new things, where technology and science and education meet, and we're innovating ways to promote and support research, promote and support higher education, and most of all promote that bridge between society and the scientists. The communication between those two is always awkward, it's always being very difficult because they speak two different languages. How to find those right angles, the right stories and the right venues to bridge the gap between the scientists and the universities and the public is one of the goals of the station. And in a few words, the future of La Selva will depend on how relevant we are to the communities and the society that supports us. If we don't become relevant to them, if they don't care if we exist or not, then we're not meeting our real purpose. So how to become relevant to society is the primary goal. And with that, we will continue to support science, research, and be the innovators and the pioneers in these fields that we always been.
Biological stations allow the scientific community to conduct studies for decades at a time, giving us a better understanding of the world around us. We live in an exciting time where global communication is at an all-time high. We must use this powerful tool to help the general public gain an understanding as to how essential these biological stations really are to scientific research.